right now, as we speak, jury selection is happening in the case of that Island County, Washington election observer, one of two, now facing felony charges because they refused to put a mask on this past November, 2024, okay, while ballots were being counted. So the one who is starting his trial today is Tim Hazelow. A reminder, here's the body camera footage that was worn by law enforcement when they went to confront him for, again, not wearing a mask.
Hey, how you doing, Mr. Miller?
What's your name?
Tim Hazelow.
Tim Hazelow?
Yeah, okay. Good to meet you.
Good to meet you.
Yeah.
Okay.
We've met before.
So, tell me what's going on here.
I'm just observing my civil rights as the observer.
Okay, but as I know, they made a policy that you wear a mask while you're in
Which
here.
the RCW doesn't give them the authority to do so.
That's still a policy that's been set. You need to leave.
Are you going to write me a citation?
If I need to.
Then
Let's go. The charge is disorderly conduct.
gotcha.
Okay, you have a mandatory court appearance.
Okay.
Do you have any other questions for
No,
me? I'm going to
no.
ask you not to return here today.
I won't.
Or you can end up in jail.
I won't.
Okay.
Should I go sign out though?
What's that?
Because I have to sign in as an observer. Should I sign out?
I will escort you up there to sign out,
Okay.
and then you can be on
No,
your
that makes
way.
sense. Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
Good grief. Just an insane situation. So he's cited for disorderly conduct. So he's thinking, well, I've just got to pay a ticket or something. No, because this became one of the most egregious examples of malicious prosecution, politically motivated prosecution I have ever seen or covered. So there's a prosecutor in Island County, the elected prosecutor. His name is Greg Banks. He ends up turning this case into a felony for this election observer who in 2024, years after the pandemic, didn't wear a mask while he was observing ballots being counted. Now, at the time when we covered this, we broke the news about why I felt as if Greg Banks, the elected prosecutor in Island County, was pursuing this case so aggressively to have it not only rise to the level of a felony, but he's personally prosecuting it. He never does this. He is personally the prosecutor on the case. And we showed you at the time some of his old social media posts. He hates Donald Trump. He hates Trump supporters. Tim Hazelow is not only a Republican, but he was for a time the chair of the Island County Republican Party. And here you've got Greg Banks, the prosecutor, who's on social media comparing Trump supporters to the KKK, calling them racist bullies with second-grade intellects and behavioral disorders, saying that you should get free admission and an all-attraction pass to Disney World if you wear a MAGA hat, and masks are prohibited, suggesting that he wants MAGA supporters who won't wear a mask to die because they get COVID at Disneyland, saying collateral damage is a bitch, saying we need to cleanse society of the diseased thinking of Trump supporters. This is the prosecutor who is pursuing a felony against Tim Hazelow and a second election observer under the same circumstances. Despite all of this coming out, today jury selection begins. It is so crazy that we got to this point. So in terms of it becoming a felony, again, this is absolutely malicious prosecution. I just want to catch you guys up before I get to, I think, some of the keys of the case as it's going to unfold in the days, maybe even weeks ahead. So again, Tim Hazelow gets, this citation, disorderly conduct. We find out a couple months later that Greg Banks, the elected prosecutor, is going to be the prosecutor on this case and immediately threatens Tim Hazelow with a felony. This is from the Whidbey Island Times, came out on February 7th of this year. North Whidbey man charged with felony over refusal to wear mask in elections office. So this case turned into, from a disorderly conduct case, like have to pay a citation, maybe go, to court on a misdemeanor, to using a state RCW that is on the books to prohibit unlawful entry into an election facility. Which it's very clear, by the way, the RCW is written, that this has to do with someone breaking in to try to steal ballots. It's very clear what the motivation behind that felony RCW is. If somebody breaks into an election office or barges into an election office who isn't supposed to be there, yeah, that probably should be a felony crime because it risks the sanctity of the elections. But that's not what Tim Hazelow did. So now I'm told, leading up to today's jury selection, the court dismissed the disorderly conduct charge. That's not even part of this now. So the initial thing he was cited for, misdemeanor, isn't even part of it. Now it's trespassing and this felony unlawful entry charge under that statute that clearly doesn't apply to this case. Tim Haselow literally had to sign in as an election observer and go in there with permission to be in there. And they asked him to leave and he left. But you're going to charge him with felony unlawful entry of an election facility? Just crazy. So this is, again, jury selection. I literally just checked in with Tim Haselow a couple minutes ago. I don't see how he's prosecuted. I don't see how he's convicted of this. Maybe I'm being Pollyannish. I don't see, you just need one common sense person on the jury to see that this case is completely blown out of proportion. One, the mask mandate shouldn't even have been a thing in 2024, but that's not what the jury is going to decide on. They're not going to decide on the merits of the mask mandate. They're going to decide on whether he was trespassing and whether he gained unlawful entry to an election facility. But here's the thing that I think the jury ought to be presented with and ought to weigh, which I'm sure Tim Haselow's defense team will make a pretty, I would hope, a significant part of this case. Tim Haselow isn't the only one in there who wasn't wearing a mask. On video, the day after this story came out, Como News sent a reporter up there. And they have their camera that's just shooting B-roll, generic video of the ballot counting location, talking to the county auditor about what happened and the rule around masking, and captures in this video, you'll see it if you're watching far right on your screen, an old man in there not wearing a mask, no mask in sight. The county election office tried to say after that video was aired on Como News, oh, he was taking a drink. Do you see anything? Do you see him taking a drink? No, he's clearly got a ballot in his hand. He's counting it. He didn't get kicked out. He didn't get cited for disorderly conduct. He's not facing a felony. Why? And then the police officers who came in, not only in Tim Haselow's case, but in the case of the other woman who's also facing a felony charge, they're not wearing masks either. So if wearing a mask is such a big deal, why were so many people in this ballot counting center not masked? But because Tim Haselow, a Republican, a Trump supporter, wasn't wearing a mask, now he is facing a felony conviction? So that, to me, would be Exhibit A. Exhibit B would be the prosecutor's own social media posts. Now, I don't know if a judge is going to deem those admissible, because I don't know if you can call into question the character of the prosecutor in the midst of the trial. Maybe that's something that they've already deemed is inadmissible in court. But certainly, if my defendant is facing a felony charge and he's a Trump supporter over something so blatantly ridiculous, I should have a right to provide him with the best defense possible by pointing out that the elected prosecutor who's chosen to personally prosecute the case literally hates and hopes Donald Trump supporters die. But to me, the mask thing on its own should be enough to get this case tossed out by a jury. So I'm hoping for Tim Haselow. Let's think about Tim today. This is insane. Malicious prosecution, politically motivated prosecution. Look, at the end of the day, if there's a rule to wear a mask, you can challenge the rule in court. Maybe he should have just went the civil route and just got up and left when they asked him to leave. I don't know what would have happened then. But it was a stupid rule to begin with. Maybe a citation, certainly not a felony. You're talking about a felony, guys. Think of all the felony crimes in this state they just let go, or they give a slap on the wrist to. Gosh, the left-wing activists were just out calling for a pardon for an immigrant. Well, I guess he's illegal now because he didn't have a right to stay in the country after he served 25 years for murder. And the lefties are all like, oh, give him a pardon, let him go. Felonies, when they're violent felonies, are no big deal. But if you're a Republican and you don't wear a mask in an election office, throw the book at them. And not to mention, Tim Haselow's career is on the line over this. His job requires a security clearance. And he's not going to be able to keep his security clearance if he gets convicted of a felony. It's so crazy. So we're going to be monitoring this. I wish I could get up there for trial, but I'm here with you guys every day. Love being with you guys. But we'll get updates from Tim Haselow as things go. Shame on Greg Banks, though. Shame on you, sir. First of all, you should have recused yourself. We asked him, if you'll recall, why don't you recuse yourself given your clear hatred for Trump supporters? And he told us, oh, well, those posts are old and I've since thought better and stopped making jokes on social media and I can separate my personal political bias from this case. Clearly not, because why are you taking it yourself? And he responded to us saying, oh, this is about the sanctity of our election. So I, as the elected prosecutor, have to jump in and do this case. Wild stuff. It's just crazy stuff. So Tim Haselow, wishing him the best. I hope they can get at least one sane juror on that jury to hear this case.